I was 12, I helped my daddy build a bomb shelter in our basement because some fool parked a dozen warheads 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This thing could park a couple of hundred warheads off Washington and New York, and no one would know anything about it till it was all over.
Okay, retro go. Let's go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis. This is episode number 348, and our movie this week from 1990 is The Hunt for Red October. And here to talk with me about it because he had not seen it from Botched, a D&D podcast, it's Dennis. Denny, how you doing?
I am just peachy as always and always excited to be on this show. A, because you and I get to chat and we don't do that enough anyways. But B,
True.
It's my opportunity to actually get around to watching movies that I keep saying I'm going to watch and then never do. Like Goonies,
Right.
for instance, the last time I was on. So,
Yeah. All right, so The Hunt for Red October, 1990, directed by John McTiernan, based on the Tom Clancy novel. What, if any, history did you have with the movie or the novel or anything? Did you know about it? And how is it that you just never saw this one?
So I have nothing as far as this movie goes. When I was growing up, we had cable, so you'd see commercials for it all the time, or you'd see it on the list of programs. But for whatever reason, I never turned it on. I didn't even realize it was 1990. Phil and I were arguing about it today. He was thinking it was like 1999, and I was like, no, I feel like based on the graphics, it's a little earlier than that. So 1990 makes a lot more sense. But yeah, so I didn't know too much about it other than I knew it was a submarine movie. My guess going into the movie was wrong because I was like, oh, well, obviously Sean Connery is the bad guy just because in the lighting in the commercials always just makes him look like he's the bad guy.
Sure,
and Alec Baldwin is good guy. But no, it's a little more complicated than that. So no, I didn't know hardly anything at all going into the movie.
Awesome. So this is one I remember seeing. God, I don't remember when, but we must have either like stumbled on it on cable somewhere along the way or rented it maybe early on.
Okay.
I know I didn't see it in the theaters, but I grew up a huge Sean Connery fan. Like I loved that he was my first James Bond. I had seen at this point, I had already seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So like I knew him from that. So I would have been all for seeing this even as a, 11, 12-year-old kid probably when it hit home video. So, but I distinctly remember seeing this young and then it just being one that I watched every so often. Then as I got older and I got more into movies, I really started to dive into it because I love John McTiernan. This is now the 7th John McTiernan film that I have done for this show. All of them I had seen previously and I was showing to somebody for the first time. So you look at, just to give an idea of part of why John McTiernan for me is so great.
Well, I knew he did Die Hard because that was the first thing that I noticed when it popped up and it said, John McTiernan. I was like, wait a second. Pretty sure that's the Die Hard guy. And that makes a lot more sense as the movie goes on, but we'll get to that. What else was he the director of?
So he directed, his first film was a movie called Nomads from 1986. It's a smaller budget one. That's one I have not seen.
Never heard of it.
Next thing he did was 1987, he did Predator. He followed up Predator with Die Hard.
Okay.
He was...
Batting 1,000.
Yeah, he was asked to direct Die Hard 2, but he couldn't because he was working on The Hunt for Red October.
Okay.
Then he worked with Sean Connery again after that. The very next movie was Medicine Man.
Okay.
He directed Arnold in Last Action Hero, which I take that back. That was the one of the 7 that I had not seen previously because when I was younger, I was told, oh, it's bad. It's not worth watching.
I've seen that one so many times as a kid.
And that was totally wrong because that movie is awesome.
Yeah.
The thing was, it was so ahead of its time, right?
Yeah.
Like Last Action Hero was a far more on-the-nose satire of action films than, say, Scream was of slashers.
Yeah.
But it's that same thing. And so I loved that. And then Then he does Die Hard with a Vengeance. So he does 2 of the 3 good Die Hard movies. He did the Thomas Crown Affair remake from 99.
With Pierce Brosnan, right?
With Pierce Brosnan.
Okay.
He did The 13th Warrior in 1999, which is a movie that I really, really enjoy. Then he did Rollerball in 2002, which is less good.
Yeah.
That is easily his lowest ranked one. The IMDb score for that's like 3.2.
That's so, like, just putting those movies, like, in a line and just looking at them and then Rollerball at the end of it. It's like, what? Like, it doesn't even make sense in the grand scheme of the types of movies that he makes, the quality of the movies he makes, and then Rollerball.
Yep. And then he finished off, his last film he directed was one in 2003 called Basic with John Travolta and Sam Jackson. And it's set on a military base in Panama. And I love Basic. It is a super fun, like, thriller dealing with an assassination on a military base, and they're trying to piece it together. So it's very Rashomon.
It sounds like General's Daughter.
It's a little bit of that, but it's in this case, it is Travolta is a DEA agent, and he's called in to interview some people on a military base because Sam Jackson has gone missing. Okay. And so it's very Rashomon style, where he's getting everybody's point of view. And it's got Giovanni Ribisi in it, and it's got it's a super fun movie. But that was the last movie he did. Now, unfortunately, I love McTiernan's style, but he stopped directing because he spent a little time in white collar prison. He got busted during the making of Rollerball. Some stuff happened. I don't know all the details. I've read a little bit about it, but apparently he did some wiretapping of his ex-wife and or producers' phones.
Jeez.
And he got busted for that and spent some time in prison and hasn't directed anything save for, I guess, an Ubisoft commercial in 20 years.
So he's still around then?
He's still around, but now I think he's probably like 80 or something. So
yeah. I mean, I have to imagine he probably gets a decent chunk of royalties, right? Or something from all the movies.
Oh, yeah.
Because all those movies he made, other than Rollerball, were like, they're like, you watch them every year sort of things. Like Die Hard, you could just live off Die Hard royalties,
oh, yeah.
I feel like.
So he's in his 70s now. He's probably done directing for good. And it's unfortunate that he had the legal problems that he did, because the guy, for me, was one of those directors that he understood film. He, to me, is in the vein of somebody like a Michael Bay, but I think a better or a more refined version of that. Because Michael Bay, for all people want to say bad about him, the guy knows how to make a film that looks interesting.
Sure.
He understands camera placement and action and how to frame action. And for as weird and silly as some Michael Bay movies can get, one of the things I appreciate is I always kind of have a good sense of the geography of the action, so I don't get lost. You ever watch?
I would agree, except for the Transformers movies.
After a couple of them,
where are we?
I think the first one he did okay with.
Yeah, that one was fine. After that, it was like...
Yeah. But for the most part, if he's got an action sequence going on, you can kind of figure out, like, here's where this actor is in relation to this actor in this sequence and all these things going on. Sometimes you watch an action movie. I remember seeing the remake of Clash of the Titans.
Yes.
The mid-2000s.
Yeah. Yep.
And there were action scenes there, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening anywhere anymore. I don't know where anyone is.
Oh, especially the Medusa fight.
Yeah.
Like trying to just figure out placement, because that's very important for that fight specifically.
Yes, it is. But Michael Bay is really good at that. McTiernan, I think, is I hate to say like higher brow version, but like sort of that. He understands pacing and tension and camera movements in films in ways that you don't necessarily think about at first. Like, you look at this movie, Hunt for Red October is a political thriller, is what it is. And it's mostly set inside of a submarine, an aircraft carrier, and another submarine.
Yep.
Almost exclusively in those locations. And yet, it is paced amazingly for a 2 hour and 15-minute movie. And everything looks dynamic. because the camera is always moving and doing something interesting or framed. Really, he understands framing too. I love. If you do photography or anything, kind of rule of thirds.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really good at utilizing that widescreen 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio and pushing, an actor all the way to one side of the frame, but still making the background compelling. So you're really looking at this whole frame really well. And that to me is the thing that McTiernan is just good at. And that's what makes Die Hard work so well. Mm-hmm. Predator is an amazing action film. For a second film that he ever did as a major picture.
That's nuts when you put them in that order. I'm like, how?
Right?
How?
I will say I have listened to interviews with McTiernan, and he just is a film nut, and he studies movies, and he studied different types of cinema. And he had a quote talking about working with Sean Connery in this, because this was the first time they had worked together. Okay. And they would work together again in another movie. But he spoke about his experience with Sean Connery, and I like the way he put it. He's like, he didn't suffer fools easily, and you tried not to be a fool around him.
That sounds about right.
and if you weren't a fool, you got along fine. Like, I love this. Yes, he scared me at first from his reputation or whatever, but by about the second day, at the end of the day, he said, "Good night, boy." And, for me, from my family, that was like a term of endearment. And so he immediately knew, I'm all right. And Connery apparently, according to McTiernan, enjoyed the stuff they were doing on this movie because it wasn't being shot like a standard American action film.
Yeah.
And he was doing a lot of these camera movements and things that he would do. And it was new and interesting for Connery, who, he'd been doing it for 40 years at this point. So
I was going to say, in the movie itself, Connery does very little of a normal action stuff. Like, he has that one sort of CQC encounter with the, what was he? He was like that Russian leader guy, the spokesman, that he breaks his neck or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
There's that. And then he has a gun and walks towards it, but I don't even think he fires a shot. He gets shot in the shoulder and then gives it to Alec Baldwin, and then Baldwin does it.
Yeah.
So it's very uncharismatic for, Sean Connery movies, because he's usually, the action guy. Even in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, he's still doing some action stuff, even if some of it's a little magooish, but still.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's great. This was one of those where, having not seen it before, how was it like as the movie's unfolding, you start seeing all these faces pop up that you had to have recognized?
I literally was just like, constantly, how did they put all these people in now I'm assuming at the time they probably weren't as big as they were, but I'm like, there's freaking Dr. Beverly Crusher, and there's Tim Curry, and there's James Earl Jones, and this person and this person and this person. It just keeps going one after another. Now there's a person, I don't know his name, but I do recognize him from the 2 Die Hard movies that McTiernan directed. Because he's the cop in both of them, but I don't think he plays the same character, but he's in both of them.
Yes. That is an actor by the name of Anthony Peck, and he was in a bunch of McTiernan movies for a stretch where he would just have a small role like that. He would be a cop here or somebody like in the background of a scene, but he seemed to be like, I think he was just friends with McTiernan and did for a little while. He sadly passed away on us fairly early, but I like him because of the same thing. I was like, that's Ricky from Die Hard with a Vengeance. I remember him.
And like, there are fairly big actors in fairly small parts. Like James Earl Jones is a pretty big actor, but his part's not that big in the movie. Fred Thompson's in it for like 2 seconds.
Yep.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the main FBI guy from Silence of the Lambs. He's in it. He plays a pretty decent part because he's the other, submarine captain or whatever.
Yeah, that's Scott Glenn.
Yeah.
Playing Bart Mancuso. Cool thing with him. So actors do their research right before a role, especially when they get cast in a big movie. Some of them try to do stuff. Scott Glenn got to spend some time on I don't know if it was a sub or if it was just a boat with the Navy. But in doing that, the commander of the ship he kind of told the crew, hey, treat this guy like you would treat me. And sort of for him to get into the role, they would bring briefings to the captain and they would give them to the captain and then they would give them to Scott Glenn.
Oh, that's cool.
As a captain. And so he based his portrayal of Bart Mancuso on that Captain Fargo.
Oh, that's cool.
And said basically everything I did good in the movie, it's because of him.
Awesome.
So,
and then
and
Sam
he's
Neill,
great.
of course. I almost forgot about Sam Neill. Which, by the way, so there's a couple rules that I have with TV shows and movies, which is if there is a secret bad guy, it's always a famous person.
Mhm.
So while my theory was correct, the conclusion was incorrect because I thought it was Sam Neill, but it was actually the cook. Because I even said, like, the cook, that's the guy, he was in Gladiator. He was like one of the royal guards or whatever. So I was like, well, that guy's too famous to be a cook. I mean, and he's not that famous, but like I know him. So therefore, too famous. But it didn't even occur to me that, oh yeah, the cook. So right track, wrong ending, I guess, as far as that theory goes. But
well, and that's the way you do. I mean, a whodunit is always going to give you all the information you need to figure it out in that first. A well done whodunit. We'll do it in that first act, and then in the third act, it all gets paid off.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, there's that scene where it's the aftermath of what you had mentioned, where it's the political officer, played by Peter Firth, who's another fun character actor you've seen in a bunch of
Stellan
stuff.
Skarsgård too, another name. Just
yes, we're gonna get to him. But Peter Firth's character dies, and it's the whole he slipped on his tea, and so he calls over because the cook's assistant Loganoff. That name is seared into my brain from watching this so many times. He calls him over, and it's sort of a throwaway moment, but there's a shot right afterwards that lingers on him for a second. And when you watch it in retrospect, you're like, yep, they're just telling us right now this guy's going to do something later. But in the moment,
wonder if he was KGB, because they said, oh, there might be KGB. I don't know if there's KGB. I wonder if he was the KGB.
I'd be curious because I know it's an adaptation of a Tom Clancy novel. So there's obviously going to be stuff that got changed, whether it was cut or any kind of additions. I wonder if that is brought up in the novel, because I've never read it myself.
I glanced at a summary, like a very brief summary, and it is very different in the sense that I'm pretty sure the guy gets caught at the end. Like all the Russian guys, they get caught and, go back to Russia. So the story is a little different, obviously, than how it turns out in the movie. But I don't know in terms of details or characters how similar it is. I didn't look any deeper than that into it, but I was curious because I was like, oh, is this based on a true story? Because how that opens at the beginning, they're like, well, not really.
Which is it's a great framing device. Like, the official story is none of this ever happened. And then that gives you nice free reign to kind of play around a little bit and have some fun. Also, this movie, Courtney B. Vance as Jonesy he's the sonar operator on the USS Dallas. This is when I love him as an actor. And not too long ago, when our friends JF and Amy were starting their campaign for their book for Aquillow, I thought current day Courtney B. Vance would be great to portray one of the characters from that book series. But anytime I see him, I think of him in this, just with those glasses, and just that silly, almost sing-songy way he says a few things because he's just having fun. And I love that kind of character. That sort of, he's the grizzled old dude that's been around and just has this ability, like almost preternatural ability with sonar.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that I enjoy in movies where they give you a little bit of backstory that doesn't necessarily mean anything to the main plot, but it's just sort of character building, and them talking about him like using the entire ship as his own sort of like acoustic. I don't remember the name of the composer that they said, but I love that part and how that story just kind of goes off for a little bit, because at that point, they don't know about the Red October, so this is just a normal sort of day for them, and they're just having normal conversations. And I like that in movies, especially where everything's not focused on the main plot, but or characters aren't super typecast, like, oh, this is the comic relief guy, and then this. I like that characters have depth and layers to them, and a personality and history and stuff like that. So I enjoyed that part, especially when that happened.
It's great because it makes this world feel lived in.
Mhm.
And this boat, you're on the Dallas and you meet, in that scene, you meet Jonesy, you meet Seaman Beaumont, and you meet the Cobb, chief of the boat. And it just feels like these guys have been working together for a little while. And, Jonesy and the Cobb have served together for a while.
Yeah.
And the banter is great. And you get a little bit of the jargon of being in the Navy without it being like impenetrable
Sure.
as well. No, I love that moment. Plus, I mean, just the way he says Beaumont's name is always so great because he overpronounces Seaman Beaumont.
Yeah, I did notice that. They keep saying Seaman.
Which is great. I love Courtney B. Vance. And then you mentioned Stellan Skarsgård, and it's a blink and you miss it almost.
Yeah,
moment.
he's
Like
only in like, what, 4 shots?
Something like that.
Maybe?
But it's an important part, but it's almost like a plot device.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, I feel like if this were, say, a prestige series done today, like a 4 or 5, 8-part series.
That would be
like,
a cat and mouse kind of character where
You would-
he just
yeah.
keeps constantly popping up, and the Sean Connery character has to elude him, one way or another, that sort of thing, and before he, gets the end that he gets at the end of it. Yeah, I definitely. If this was a series, that would be played out very differently. But I feel like for this, they didn't have enough time, maybe, so they
Yeah.
just kind of were like, thing gotta happen. Do thing.
But they do a smart thing in the script, which is give that captain and Ramius a connection.
Yep.
And so they both know each other.
Yep.
And there's a respect there, but also Ramius clearly knows what this guy does and kind of what his faults are. And he's not concerned with him, but we as an audience are sort of given a compelling reason why he is so dead set on going after him.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. And, Stellan Skarsgård's fairly young here. He's not established. And to get an actor of that caliber in a role like this is just great. And it really lends so much gravitas to a movie like this where it's just everyone is top notch, up and down. I had a note that Amanda Mackey is credited as the casting director.
Okay.
And the casting is just top notch all the way through.
There is another actor. I don't know his name, but I only remember him from Lethal Weapon 2 as the diplomatic immunity guy.
Oh, you mean this guy?
Diplomatic immunity.
That guy.
Yes. That is Joss Ackland.
Okay.
And yep, I know him from Lethal Weapon and from this.
Okay. I was
and
going to say,
that's-
I've never seen him in anything else but these two things. So I was like, oh, that guy.
Yep.
In
He's
a
got
perpetual loop of just nonstop, oh, that guy. Oh, that guy.
Yep.
Just the whole
Yes.
movie.
He has got a very distinct voice.
Yes.
That works really well. And his scenes, all of them are with Richard Jordan
the
as
senator.
National Security Advisor Jeffrey Pelt, who I love Richard Jordan in this because him and Fred Thompson are there to deliver quotes and move some plot along. And it's done in such a great way, I feel like, because those characters in lesser hands can feel very forced on you. And I could see somebody being like, that character's just there to quip. Yes, but Richard Jordan and Fred Thompson are so charismatic in those roles
I would
that
say
I don't care.
Richard Jordan kind of moves everything along for Alec Baldwin because he sees things more from Alec Baldwin's standpoint than the other people that were at that desk did. So it's kind of because of him because I'm pretty sure he's like, oh, you have this many, how many days till he arrives? Cool. You have one less than that to go find the guy. So I feel like he kind of catapults things along, but he even says, I'm a politician. I lie all the time. I don't care. He's like, but this sounds like something important. And, basically I like the cut of your jib sort of situation.
Yeah. Yep. And I definitely have quotes I'll play from those two later because Fred Thompson is just a walking quote machine.
And he's not in it very much.
No. And this would have been the same year that he also was in Die Hard 2 because he was the director of the Dulles Airport in Die Hard. And he's he's sort of the same thing in that.
Yeah.
Like He pops up, he says a few folksy lines, and then moves on.
But that's kind of his career, right? Did you ever watch
Yeah.
Law and Order?
Exactly.
That's all his
Yeah.
character did is the main, what is it, the DA, I guess. But
Yeah.
like that's all he would do. He would pop up once in an episode, say a folksy line, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's his whole thing.
Connery in this is great. There's always the joke going around that like he just does his Sean Connery accent, and I don't care. That's fine because this movie does a cool thing that McTiernan did again later on. But it is so the film starts off and we meet Jack Ryan, played by Alec Baldwin, who I want to get to because it's Alec Baldwin. But we meet him, and then we meet Ramius and everybody on the Russian sub, and they're all speaking Russian. And there's a moment where Ramius and the political officer, who ironically or coincidentally is named Putin, but that wasn't a Vladimir Putin reference because
he wasn't in power yet, right?
Yeah, they're talking and he's reading poetry. He's reading some entries in the Bible, I think, that had been like underlined.
Yes.
And it gets to a word, it gets to Armageddon. The camera slowly pushes in on his mouth and he's speaking Russian. It gets to the word Armageddon and then he flips to English and the camera backs out. And from then on, they're all speaking English throughout the movie. But that's for our benefit. They're actually speaking Russian to each other.
Yeah. Because then towards the end of the movie, when the Americans board the Russian boat, they're all still speaking English, but the Americans don't know what they're saying other than Alec Baldwin. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. So yeah, I thought that was really clever. And my one friend on Thanksgiving said, "Oh, you're watching Red October. They do a thing with the speaking that's really cool that I've never seen before." And so I had an idea that was coming, though I did not know exactly how it was executed. And I did think that was really cool, especially the zooming in and then just like not even a transition at all. It's just immediately start just going into the other language. I was like, that's fantastic. Never seen it before either or since.
Yeah, and it's smart to use it on a word like Armageddon because that word is the same in English or Russian, just pronounced slightly differently. So like it's a perfect transitional word.
Yeah.
But I like that thing. And McTiernan did it again in The 13th Warrior.
Okay.
There's a moment early on in that movie where Antonio Banderas' character, who speaks Arabic and some Greek, is with all of the Norsemen. And they're all speaking their Norse language. And this is him. This version of it in 13th Warrior happens over a period of time where it's like him riding with them and sitting around the fire, and it's him just watching and listening to them. And it's cut, and all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, it flips to English, and he can understand them. And then he responds, and they're like, "Wait, you speak our language? How'd you do that?" And his response is, "I listened." But it's that same thing where it pushes in on the face and then flips. And I love that because now throughout the rest of the movie, we just are able to understand these characters, and they can understand each other. And we don't have to watch the whole thing. You don't have to watch it all with subtitles.
Sure.
Which is nice because it makes the movie more approachable.
Sure.
Though
in
also
my
then
older age, I don't mind subtitles so much.
No, I definitely had to use some here and there for this because this is a movie with a lot of background din from the subs, whether it's sonar going off or just the sound of the sub moving through the water.
Sure.
So, but no, I loved it. And Connery is great as always, as Marco Ramius. He is such a commanding presence on screen.
Oh yeah.
That like you buy that these men would follow him into hell. Like his whole speech when they go to launch is just great.
And then they're singing and they're like, "Hey, maybe we should stop singing." He's like, "Nah, let him sing."
Yeah. Well, but that moment is great because they say, "What about the singing?" And for a split second, he's concerned.
He thinks about it, yeah.
And then he looks around, but he sees what it's doing for the men, and he's like,
for the morale.
"Nah, let him." Yeah, so good. You really buy him as a captain of a sub, and a captain that he was in a position to be able to pick all of his officers,
sure,
and then have the crew. I really liked him.
Well, I wasn't even sure what to make of him for quite a while in the movie because the way they were setting it up, it seemed like, oh no, he is like the bad guy, and he's just going to go try to nuke, you know, the U.S. with this new sub, that sort of a thing,
Mhm.
before it gets flipped on its head, you know, where he's actually just trying to defect. But like that whole, like with him killing the political officer and everything else, I was just like, okay, so this guy's just the bad guy, even though the political officer seemed slimy. But like every action he was taking just seemed nefarious. And then
Yeah.
when it all sort of, when the puzzle sort of comes together and the fog kind of goes away, you're like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense then in terms of him not being generic bad guy, but instead a more complicated character, which I also appreciate because I like complicated characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say keep your story and your plot much more simple and make your characters complex.
Yeah.
And this movie, I think, does a good job with that because Marco, for the most part, Ramius is, you could read him any different way. You could read him a bunch of different ways, which is great. That, especially that early part of it, where even some of the officers are like, wait, what's going on? Or why did, there's the moment where they're sitting around the dinner table and the one guy's like, I want to know what happened. Like he clearly didn't slip on his tea. And you sort of, you're not sure, even after Ryan starts talking about like, well, he picked his own officers and all that, but you don't know which of them are his and not. Because like the doctor, Tim Curry's character, is clearly part of the crew and not part of the officer corps.
Yeah. Well, it's, I feel like the only people who were on the aware of the whole defecting thing were just the officers. I don't think there was anybody else. So that everyone else had to stay, you know, in the dark, which was funny because Tim Curry's character throughout the movie is just kind of an interesting character. And then at the end where they're standing on this sub, he's like, hey, he's giving him the good fight and you're going to get a medal for all this. And you know, all that stuff. It was just weird because I don't usually see him in side roles that much. Every once in a while, but even side roles, he usually has more to do, like the Shadow, for instance. Like he was a side character, but he was like really memorable because he's just weird and kind of crazy. Whereas this, he's just a doctor, and he's just kind of going through things with logic. Like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have both those keys because it seems like a bad idea to have both those keys. You're not supposed to have them. And he just constantly is bringing up good points in terms of, I don't know about this.
And then Alec Baldwin as Jack Ryan. So this is the first time Jack Ryan was on screen. This is the first of Tom Clancy's novels to be put onto a film. And they get Alec Baldwin, who was a known name, but he wasn't a superstar yet. Like he wasn't Alec Baldwin yet. Yeah. He had done Beetlejuice and he'd done a few other movies, but they were mostly smaller movies or kind of cult films.
Okay.
He credits this as being the movie that kind of catapulted him and put him sort of more in the limelight.
Well, how did this movie do box office wise?
It was good. It was, so 1990. And the funny thing was when they started production on this, the Cold War had not ended yet.
Oh,
but during the production of it is when sort of the Berlin Wall fell.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this was a $30 million budget in 1989, 1990.
Okay.
U.S. gross was over 122 million with a worldwide of over 200. So it did well.
Yeah, no, it did great. Yeah.
But this really catapulted him, and he was asked to come back to play Jack Ryan a couple years later, and I think it was Patriot Games was the next one.
Okay.
And he wanted more money. And so as the story goes, this is your internet trivia, so take it with a grain of salt. But the story goes that they wanted Harrison Ford for this movie to play Jack Ryan. But they couldn't afford him. They got Alec Baldwin because he was cheaper. And he was less known at the time. This does great. The next movie comes about. They're going to do Patriot Games, another Tom Clancy one, and Alec Baldwin wants more money. And the story is that the producers were like, I mean, for that money, we can get Harrison Ford. And so they got Harrison Ford.
Okay.
So, but Harrison Ford took over for Jack Ryan for a couple movies, and the rest is kind of history. But I like Baldwin in this. Now, he is notorious, especially in this era, for being difficult. Not so much difficult on set, but there was a period of time where Alec Baldwin was very self-serious. And I feel like as he got older, he sort of lost some of that. Now he still has a little bit of it.
Sure.
There's the whole controversy with the film he was producing and acting in that had the death on set.
Oh,
I don't know
yes.
if you heard about that.
Oh,
but
yeah. Because they were
there's
talking
all
about he could possibly go to jail at one
Yeah.
point, I'd heard.
But Baldwin, I feel like after Beetlejuice and before, say, The Departed, like in between those two movies, I feel like he was a little bit too like full of himself maybe, and thought he was more. I don't know. I've heard rumors. I like him in a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's great. I think he's great in this. He was great in The Shadow.
Yep. Love The Shadow. Beetlejuice. God, I can't think of all the things he was in. I know there was that TV show 30 Rock. I feel like that also is where it kind of plays on him.
Yes.
Like that,
in fact,
that idea.
There is an episode of 30 Rock where they're talking about how HD cameras can make you look bad because they're too high definition, and they like they show somebody and they put it up on the monitor and they look like a Muppet or something, and then they put his character from 30 Rock on the HD camera, and they used footage from The Hunt for Red October to show that like it made him look even better.
Okay.
So yeah, I do. At some point, he was able to kind of break, I think, out of that and just sort of not take himself too seriously and kind of laugh at himself a little bit more.
Sure.
And I like that because he is, I think, a compelling, actor on screen, and I liked him in this.
His character in this had a lot of layers and depth too. I mean, with the story of him, what was it? He was like in a hospital for a long time because he had an accident in a helicopter. So then you understood he had this fear of helicopters. And then towards the end of the movie, he had to ride on a helicopter, and then he literally cuts the rope so he falls out of the helicopter into the ocean, all this stuff. And he's just constantly doing all these things. And the running gag of he just doesn't go to sleep. Like he can't go to sleep because of the turbulence, so he just doesn't sleep at any point through the movie until the end of the movie. So yeah, that his character was interesting for a number of reasons, like all those little things, but also he had met Romulus at one point.
Oh yeah, yep.
And Ramus. Sorry, I was like, there's no way it's Romulus. They're not going to do Star Trek. Ramus. He had met him at one point. He had read all these books and all this other stuff, so he felt like he kind of knew the guy. And so he wanted to give him a chance, and he basically just did everything within his power and beyond to try to give him this one chance. Even the part where he's like, he's gonna do the crazy Ivan, and he's gonna turn what was it, starboard, I think, or port. I can't remember which. And he gets it right, and he's just like, how did you know? He's like, it was just a guess. It's 50-50. I needed to get lucky.
No, I like it because in this, Jack Ryan is not a character who is an action star. He's a bit of a nerd. Yeah. He's a historian. He writes books. He's an analyst. He's not a field guy.
Yeah. Which is funny when Ramus then goes, I read your book. Everything was wrong.
Yeah. That was great. That was wonderful. But like, I like Jack Ryan here because there's those great scenes where he's like working things out and he's trying to figure out what's going on. I will say the scene where he takes a shower and then he's shaving and he's like going over everything in his head. He's kind of rubber ducking with himself in the mirror. And he's like, how do you get a crew to want to get off a nuclear submarine? And he figures out that he's got to do something with the reactor. I was getting razor burn by proxy during that scene when he was shaving. It just was killing me the way he was shaving. I don't know what it was. It was the short, like quick strokes. No, but like, I like Jack Ryan throughout this whole thing because he's figuring things out, and he is both a step ahead, but also really playing hunches. Like twice in this, he plays just a straight up hunch and it pays off for him. And what I like about that is then subconsciously the third time that a hunch is being played, in this case, Raimi is turning into the torpedo. He goes along with it, even though it sounds dumb, because he's like, this guy knows more than I do. I'm going to go for it. And I like that. I just love the way everything played out with Jack throughout the movie. Was great. And yeah, there again, you mentioned it, but the scene where he gets onto the ship and you've got the one captain, Davenport, played by Daniel Davis, who I remember him more from Star Trek The Next Generation. He was in a couple of episodes of that playing Professor Moriarty.
Yes.
Data.
I was I was trying to figure out, where do I know? I think he played a butler in something too. Was
I
it
think
The
so.
Nanny? I think he was the butler in The Nanny or something.
That could be.
But yeah, so it was driving me nuts. I was like, where do I know him from? And I forgot to IMDb it. So yeah, he was Moriarty. Oh my God.
Yep. But Fred Thompson sends Jack off to go shower and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel Davis's character is like, I don't like him wearing the uniform. I don't like him doing all this stuff. And that there again this is a way to do an exposition dump without it feeling too much like an exposition dump. Because you got somebody who doesn't know the story, and Fred Thompson's like, yeah, that kid spent a year in traction.
Mm-hmm.
Another 8 months learning how to walk again. Like, maybe cut him a little slack.
Yeah.
Which is just, he was a Marine. He was at the academy to be a Marine, and
Mhm.
now he ends up at a desk, but like he's got military in him.
Yeah.
So I loved all of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and also this movie just does so much tension in scenes where it's just people sitting in a submarine looking at each other.
Oh yeah.
It's great. I just like every
When they
time
were
I watch
driving
it, I'm
at
remembering it.
the torpedo, I don't know anything about that stuff.
Mhm.
So I was just like, I was racking my brain trying to figure out, okay, because you can't just dodge at the last minute. It's a big
Right.
giant ship underwater. That's not how they work. And then it's like, oh yeah, it hadn't armed yet. So it just kind of just falls apart. I was like, oh, did not know that's how that worked.
Well, I like that it was the first torpedo armed on the far side because they didn't have their range right. And then the
Yeah.
second one, he closes the distance. And then Jack is like, well, great. And he goes, yeah, not so great. Because now he's just going to turn the safeties off.
Immediately next scene. All right, turn the safeties.
I love the briefing scene where, because Jack is living in London. He flies back to the States to meet up with James Earl Jones, Admiral Greer, who I think, if I'm correct, James Earl Jones is the only actor to actually play him in this and in the Harrison Ford movies.
I've never seen the Harrison Ford movies either. They were other ones that I would see all the time, just be on the TV, but I'd never watched them.
I know I've seen, I think it was Patriot Games once. And I think I've seen Clear and Present Danger, but it's been a long time for either one of them.
Okay.
But so Jack goes, meets with him, and is like, hey, we got this stuff, whatever. I got to go talk to this guy about subs. And he goes and he meets with Skip, Jeffrey Jones, who Jeffrey Jones is an actor, kind of like McTiernan, where McTiernan ran into some legal troubles. Jeffrey Jones also had some legal troubles. His were less wiretapping an ex-wife and more keeping pictures of underage kids.
That's right, Jeffrey Jones. Yeah,
it bums me out because I love his performances. Him as Principal Rooney in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, he's what they call, isn't the term like a character actor?
Yes.
Like he has a specific thing. He's never the main guy, except for Mom and Dad Save the World.
Yes, there's that one. But like he is gloriously over the top in Howard the Duck. If you've ever seen that,
I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but I don't remember it enough to be able to tell you.
He's wonderful in that. Like even Sleepy Hollow, he's in.
Yeah,
he was a lot of fun to see on screen, and it's a bummer that his like personal life turned out to be a little problematic.
That's the thing with a lot of actors, because I used to love. I still love the movies. I can separate the two, like Kevin Spacey. Like absolutely love his movies, but obviously not the greatest of human beings. But it's like, all right, well, it sucks that this person sucks in real life, but at least the movies were good.
Yeah. But Jack goes to see Skip, learns about what this could potentially be, the Caterpillar drive. And while he's doing all that, he gets called back in by James Earl Jones, who takes him to that briefing with the Joint Chiefs and all that. And he's like, doesn't tell him anything until they're walking into the rooms. Like, who's getting the briefing? You are. I probably would have pooped myself at that point.
Yeah.
Like, easily.
And that was the same meeting where, he starts laughing at the end, right? And then James Earl Jones at the end, he's just like, speak your mind. He's like, God damn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, trust me. I captured that.
Yeah.
Because, look, when James Earl Jones is in a movie, you capture what he says. Like,
oh, yeah.
That's just that's the voice.
Yeah. I'm always struck. I don't see enough of his movies these days, obviously, because they just don't pop up that often. But every time I do watch something with him in it, I'm always struck. Like, man, that guy's voice is
Mhm.
just. It's just like him and Morgan Freeman. Like those are the two best voices. Like,
And, and it's crazy to think he grew up with an incredibly horrendous stutter and didn't talk for a long time.
yeah,
And he
yeah,
had
it's
to
weird.
like teach himself to do and you wouldn't think that just based on any movie you've
Yeah.
ever seen him in.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to his small role in Doctor Strangelove, where he's just baby James Earl Jones in the plane towards the end.
Oh yeah.
But no, I loved him for the short, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like James Earl Jones, Richard Jordan, Stellan Skarsgård. They're all just in it a little bit. Fred Thompson. One thing I will say, the movie is basically all men. There's 2 women in the movie. One of them is Gates McFadden,
Yep.
who had a. So this was filmed after season 1 of Next Generation,
Okay.
but after she had been like let go for that year.
Okay.
She was gone from Next Generation for a year. She filmed this. According to trivia, she agreed to do this role because the role was going to be expanded in the next movie.
Oh.
And then she couldn't do the next movie because of going back to TNG.
Sure.
And I also saw a conflicting thing where it was like they didn't bring her back because they wanted a different actor because Alec Baldwin didn't come back, whatever it was. But there's her, and then there's like a flight attendant, and that's basically it. And
yeah.
a lot of times that can be kind of annoying to see in a movie when I watch it now with my now brain.
Sure.
But here it makes sense when we're in the 1980s and we're in naval submarines.
Yeah.
There just wouldn't be any female characters to be portrayed on these subs in the 80s.
So most times when I'm watching a movie, I don't usually think about that too much. Hell, do you watch Peacemaker?
I have, yeah.
So literally in the new season, I didn't even realize he goes to this alternate dimension, and they're all white people because it's the Nazi dimension. And I didn't even notice until it's pointed out like the 4th time they go back, and they're like, why is everybody white here? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even, it wasn't even, because I'm never paying attention to that stuff. I'm always just, more engrossed in the story or trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So until you just mentioned it right now, I was like, oh my God, you're right. There's nobody in this movie. And Gates McFadden's only in it for like, she walks from one room to the other and that's it.
Yeah. Yep. And that can happen sometimes in action films. You get the trope of like the only woman in the world.
Sure.
And you get, I know Predator had that, but again, the way that Predator is structured, it's a commando unit going into the jungle.
Yeah.
So, okay. And we basically spend all our time with that unit.
Yeah. But that woman was used also as a little bit of backstory as well, because she knows at least a little bit more about the Predator than the other ones do. And by her not being armed, and then when the Predator doesn't attack her, that also kind of sets up that rule, and you get a little bit more rules of the universe and whatnot. So that one's a little different as well.
Sure.
But yeah.
But again, like this movie, unless you set some things back home or whatever, there's just nowhere that you would have that. So it's just something that I noticed this time. I'm like, there really are no women in this movie.
Yeah.
There's like, I think there's the one scene at Skip's little shipyard where they do the, they show Chekhov's rescue sub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. 1,000%. Saw that. I was like, that's coming back.
Yep. Well, they even have the line, like, we can get it anywhere in the world in 24 hours. And you're like, yeah, there
and
you go.
can attach this thing to any sub. And I'm like,
It's perfect. I think you get like a woman's voice in the background of one of those scenes. But that's basically it.
That's another Star Trek reference, by the way. The guy that's on that little sub who, at the end of the movie where his head's poking down looking, he was in TNG as well. He would argue with Data, about like he's not captaining the ship the right way and stuff like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
I knew there was a third. I could not think of who it was because I knew it was Gates McFadden and Daniel Davis. But you're right. He's the other one.
And he was in other stuff too, because he always plays like a smarmy douchebag kind of character, except for in this one, but he's barely in it. So
yeah.
But anyways, sorry.
But no, this I really enjoy the political machinations going on in this too, and just the way everything rolls out and how you learn what's happening and you learn people's motivations. And like Ramius he's been a good soldier for the Soviets for a while, but it's like the death of his wife is when he realized the last 40 years in the Cold War and sort of what it's been this like zero sum for him, and he's just done with it.
Yeah. Well, even says what was it? He's been a soldier at war with no war or something like that. And
oh yeah, like
there's only been deaths. Like
a war with no battles, no monuments, only casualties.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you could tell that he's like very disillusioned with everything. But they also set up that one point where they talk about his because what did he say? He's from Lithuania or something like that. I forget.
Yep.
And so they kind of set it up where, well, maybe he doesn't have that strong of ties to the Russians. But his wife was kind of keeping everything together.
And when she was gone, and I loved his line too of, I made her a widow the day we married.
Yeah. Well, I also like the line towards the end where he was like, my wife died while I was at sea. And because Sam Neill's talking about, what was it, Montana and his pickup truck and all this. This is also why I thought Sam Neill was the bad guy, was the saboteur. I was like, he's giving too much backstory. he's the one. But then Sean Connery's response is, there's nothing wistful really at all. It's more regretful than anything else. He does mention the fishing thing, but mostly it's just him sort of thinking sadly on, everything that's gone wrong.
Also, Sam Neill giving all that backstory, one of two things is going to happen. He's either the saboteur or he's going to get shot.
Yeah.
He's 2 days away from retirement.
Yep.
It's there was a movie I watched not that long ago, and Ewan Bremner is in it. Oh, it was, I rewatched a bunch of the Alien movies, and I watched Alien versus Predator.
Okay.
And in the beginning of that movie, Ewan Bremner is on the plane, and he's just so excited about his kids, and he's showing pictures of his kids to the main character. And I'm like, yeah, you're not making it out of Act 2, buddy. Like, you're done.
Yeah. That's every TV show as well. Anytime a character starts getting more backstory than you've ever gotten ever in the show, you're like, well, they're gone.
It's I like being alive. Well,
yep.
Yeah.
I love life. Do you love life? I can't wait to live the rest of my life.
I'm just so happy.
Yep.
Yeah. So I got some audio. I got to play some of these because when I was putting things into my soundboard earlier, I looked and I'm like, wow, this is the most clips I've gotten from a movie in a while. So I may not play all of them, but I'm going to play a few of these. Tim Curry. Tim Curry's great. And his doctor, Dr. Petrov, just had a couple of great moments. You mentioned it, but he was a voice of reason.
Yeah.
And everything he was saying made sense. There was never any point where he was kind of out of line. And I just loved.
The reason for having two missile keys is so that no one man may
what?
May arm the missiles.
Come on. Ramius knows this.
Oh, yeah.
And the doctor knows that he knows this, but still, he's got to say it to him.
Yeah.
And the clever way in which they figured out how to get the crew off the ship. They'll fake a reactor leak. And I like that Jack Ryan figures this out on his own. And Ramius has this plan for it, but it's never explicitly said. He's just like, how do you get them to want to get off the ship?
Yeah.
And then later on, they do it. And
well, the other thing that I like with that is also, and they talk about it a few times where it's like, he has this plan. He's going to defect. But it all hinges on them not running into a cowboy and running into somebody who's actually level-headed. And throughout the movie, you're like, okay, well, who's he going to run into? Because I feel like if he runs into the Dallas, it's not going to be that. And then when, Jack Ryan gets on board the Dallas and he starts doing the Morse code and he's doing the single pings and everything like that, you're like, okay. So, so literally this is the perfect storm of he did happen to run into, not even run into, because that person sought him out, essentially. But I enjoyed them talking about that a few times because I was like, okay, well, how's this going to work in terms of lining these two stars up to, make everything come together?
Yeah. The Russian navigator, there's the scene where they're going to run Red Route 1, right? They've got hyper accurate maps of these canyons.
Mm-hmm.
It's I kind of wish that they had spent more time with it, but it also is a great moment where they first enter at Thor's Twins, right? And they're going through these canyons, and they do like their first turn or whatever, and one of the other officers says something to him, and I just loved.
Give me a stopwatch and a map, and I'll fly the Alps in a plane with no windows.
I mean, I remember that line.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And the guy responds with, "Yeah, if the map is accurate enough."
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. You had Jeffrey Jones. Here's the thing that just gave away, like that DSRV is coming back.
Well, we're rigging it with a generic docking collar, so it'll mate with British, German, just about anybody's sub. We can get it anywhere in the world in 24 hours.
I mean, it's a clever way to work that in where now we know it's going to come back.
Yeah.
So I like that.
As you said, it's Chekhov's sub.
Yeah. I love the engineer on the boat. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's the one officer who's not in dress uniform, and he's almost always got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
He says Alec Baldwin looks like he's turning green after
Yes.
he starts smoking a cigarette.
Which is such a great scene, right? Because it's sort of, we need some kind of an international language here because of a perceived language barrier, even though Jack Ryan can speak some Russian. And so what does he do? He asks for a cigarette. Now, it's been established in the movie that Jack Ryan doesn't smoke. He's been offered cigarettes everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, I was curious about that. Oh, Ronald Gutman was the engineer.
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, I do recognize him from stuff. I just don't remember what stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen him in other things too. And every time, because of this movie, I just know him as the engineer from Red October.
Yeah, I was confused in the movie, actually, because he always turns down the cigarettes. He's like, yeah, I don't smoke. And then he basically asks him for a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, okay.
But I like it because it's his olive branch.
Sure.
And he takes it, lights it up like it's nothing. And then it's like, oh, he's turning green.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying, bless his heart. Jack
Yeah.
Ryan tried, but he just couldn't hold that smoke. But I love that character. And there's a moment when the first time when the saboteur hits,
Mm-hmm.
and he the engineer is just talking a mile a minute. And I didn't capture that because there's a lot of background
Sure.
noise, but he's saying like that was the first time I ever heard the word superconductor.
Mm-hmm.
When he's talking about the magnets and all of this.
Yeah.
But he's got that great line where he says,
Whoever did this knew how to cripple a caterpillar in a way not easy to find.
and I like that moment because now we're adding layers to our intrigue.
Yeah. Which also, in hindsight, when they revealed who it was, there was the saboteur. I was like, he has to be KGB, right? Because
Yeah.
how would the cook know
Mm-hmm.
how the caterpillar works? And the only way
Yeah.
you would know that stuff is if you have an intimate knowledge of that sort of thing. And you'd only have that if you had the most top secret access to things, which the KGB ought to
Yeah.
anyways. But
And I like adding that in where it makes us think about it,
Mhm.
but there doesn't have to be anybody that exclusively says he was KGB.
yeah,
There's the comment earlier that, if the KGB are on the boat, even I wouldn't know.
yeah.
And that's about it. But
And that also sets up that they're never going to fix that. So they never have the super secret, like it's going to be a real quiet ride the rest of it. That superpower is gone, basically.
I think they fix it for a little while because they do go back to silent running because they need the Dallas to find them. But what it was is what he's saying there is like it wasn't easy to find them.
Oh, okay.
So, whoever it was knew enough to do that.
Okay.
And how to cripple it.
Okay.
Which was great. Richard Jordan is just a quote machine, and I love his deliveries because they are very, especially our movie idea of what a politician is.
I'm a politician, which means I'm a cheat and a liar. And when I'm not kissing babies, I'm stealing their lollipops. But it also means that I keep my options open.
This is true.
Yeah, that was my favorite line that he had given. Because then that gives you everything you need to know about that character, but also that still holds true today for politicians, and somehow everyone forgets that. But then when he's talking to the Russian diplomat, you have that in the back of your head where you're like, well, okay, so he's playing the game because he knows full well that the other guy's not telling him everything either, but he's playing dumb and being like, oh, well, we'll be more than happy to give you a rescue operation or, this and that throughout. So, yeah. So I liked that part, especially because it tells you everything you need to know about this character.
Yeah.
And explains everything that's going to happen after that. Just in that one line.
And those scenes with Pelt and the Russian ambassador, Joss Ackland, are great because there is the game of chess being played between the two of them where they both kind of know the other one knows more than they're saying.
Yeah.
But they can't come right out and say it. And so there's like a little bit of coded language going on. I enjoyed it. And I also, my favorite of the Richard Jordan quotes is this one.
Your aircraft has dropped enough sonar buoys so that a man could walk from Greenland to Iceland to Scotland without getting his feet wet.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah. I also like where he's like, hey, this was pretty close to the end, where he's just like, hey, so like, we have a second sub that we can't. He's like, what? Yes. A second one?
Yeah. I did like Joss Ackland. This is more of that kind of code. They're talking past each other a little bit. And it was Pelt is like, well, we're happy to help any way that we can in this rescue mission. And he's just like,
but at this time, I think we're doing everything that can be done.
But are you?
Yeah.
Are you? There's the scene where like the Russian admiral is walking into his office and he gets the letter from Ramius. I love just because the dismissive ways he's walking in, everyone's saying good morning to him.
Yeah.
Just that over and over.
Yeah.
That was great. That was actually the original editor of the film. Played that role. He left the editing job because he just wasn't meshing with McTiernan's style.
Okay.
And he was much more of kind of an old school editor. But the reason I'm bringing him up, number one, I love the whatever, and he gets his tea and all of that. But I'm going to grab his name real quick because his editing credits. So it's Peter Zinner is his name. Now, as an editor, he edited The Deer Hunter. An Officer and a Gentleman.
Okay.
But two films you might have heard of before that have some critical acclaim.
Okay.
The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2.
Okay, yeah.
So
indie films.
Yeah. little productions, but he was a very old school editor, and I think he basically just didn't mesh with the style that McTiernan was going for, but they kept him on to play this little role as the Russian admiral, and I just loved it. Yeah. I do that a lot.
I enjoyed that, as well, because you could tell he's just whatever. This is all the time. Everybody has to say it because that's how it is. It reminded me of what was that? The World War II movie that Taika Waititi did. Where Hitler's his imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Jojo's Rabbit
for the show. Jojo's Rabbit. That's it.
Yeah.
Jojo
Reminded me of that, where they all just have to say the one thing I'm not going to say. But everybody just has to say it, and it just gets so routine and mundane where they're all saying it over and over and over again. They're like, whatever.
The Cook's assistant Loganov was played by Thomas Arana. You mentioned him, and he was, as you noticed, you clocked, he was in Gladiator as the general. There's one other Gladiator connection from this movie. The Russian chief of the boat. He never has a speaking line.
Oh,
but you see him.
Yes. So I actually know him from, he's Arnold Schwarzenegger's best buddy. He was like in all the Arnold movies. So like The Running Man, because he doesn't speak English very well anyways, which is why he very rarely ever says anything. But him and Arnold were like lifting buddies. So at the time, anything Arnold was in, he would just put him in it, even for a second. And yeah, I forgot he's the guy who has the cool mask in Gladiator when he fights in Rome. Yeah, he's that guy.
That is Sven-Ole Thorsen, who Kevin Smith fans may know as LaForce from Mallrats as well.
Oh yeah,
he's the Mallrats security,
the security guy.
Yeah, he's great, and I completely forgotten he was in this movie until I was watching it again for this, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Because he's really only in the beginning. I don't think they show him at the end when they're evacuating.
Not really. He's just sort of, he's always kind of floating around in the background.
Yeah.
He doesn't speak. None of that. But I just love,
It's
I
like
like
that Leonardo
seeing him.
DiCaprio meme where he's just like snapping his fingers and pointing at the screen.
Yep.
That's me watching this movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You mentioned it, but I just love Sam Neill. Sam Neill is great.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he says,
Do you think they would let me live in Montana?
there's something about the way he says Montana.
I would like to have seen Montana.
He was all about going to Montana, and
I will have a pickup truck.
I will have to have 2 wives.
yes, that was the other good one. And he said,
Sonar boys.
boys. He pronounced it Sonar Boys. And
Oh.
being an American, I always think of it as buoy.
Yeah, buoy as well. I think of it, yeah.
But Europeans will say boys. And I just like that. James Earl Jones, I mean, come on. It's James Earl Jones, right? When he calls Jack back and they get into the elevator and Ryan's like, I figured out what those doors were.
A nearly silent propulsion system?
How did you know that?
His reaction, wait, I just figured that out.
Yeah.
How did you know?
I had to go and find this stuff out and talk to people.
Right. And then he's getting ready to do he tells him, you're doing the briefing, drops that bombshell on him and says, and these 2 back-to-back were great.
He's liable to ask some direct questions. Give him direct answers. Tell him what you think.
So he tells him that, and then they go in.
Yes.
And he shuts down that admiral, and just his reaction afterwards.
I said, speak your mind, Jack, the Jesus.
Yeah.
There's even the quick moment where Jack tells him, like, I met Ramius once. Have you ever met him? And you can see Admiral Greer kind of putting his hand out like, easy there, easy, Metro. Like, slow it down. I also loved when they first get together and they're sitting in Greer's office and he's asking him about the family and all of that. And Baldwin, Jack Ryan says, she informed us that she would like us to buy her a baby brother. But we compromised and said we would buy one for Stanley. And the reaction from James Earl Jones' character.
Who's Stanley?
Stanley's a bear.
Like, he's concerned at first, like, who the hell's Stanley? And then Greer just sort of disappears for a while in the movie. Because now, Jack's on the boat, and then he's getting out into the sub and all of that. And he pops back up.
No. You understand, Commander? That torpedo did not self-destruct. You heard it hit the hull, and I was never here.
That's a great way to exit a movie. And that is so perfect. I loved his character. Fred Thompson, I got a couple of Thompsons because. Okay. So, first of all, I love.
Russians don't take a dump, son, without a plan.
He says that. And twice in this movie, Jack Ryan mocks somebody that says something like that to him. Because he says that, and then later on we get...
The average Ruski son don't take a dump without a plan.
Those were good, and I also love his description of how they're going to get him to the Dallas. Because he sees the boat way off on its own, which, again, analyst, he's looking at this. And I just... This is the way only Fred Thompson can do.
Jack, the only way to get you into Dallas is to fly you out there. Chopper. The only way we can get you that far north is to strip it down and turn it into a flying gas can.
A flying gas can.
What doesn't help is while they're on that ship, a plane crashes.
Yes.
So and you can tell like Jack's just like, oh God, I hate all of this. I don't want to fly.
None of this.
Yeah.
The moment when he's flying out to the carrier at first, when he's in the plane and they got all the turbulence. And
Which
there's
that
the guy,
I remember him from. I most remember him from Groundhog Day because he's one of the drunk guys that Bill Murray pals around with. He's in a lot of things. He's also character actor guy, like side character.
Yeah, I think of him from The Burbs. Is the main thing I think of him from. But he's great.
He was also in Die Hard. He's the electric company guy he's in the manhole. He's like, shut it down now.
Yes,
it just hit me.
He's so good. But there's that whole scene. So Jack has dealt with that plane ride. Then he sees the plane crash. Now he's got to fly in a helicopter that's just stripped down to basically nothing, which is what makes his moment where they're waiting for the Dallas that much better because he finally like asserts himself and is like, you will use that reserve if you have to. I don't care. I'm getting on that submarine.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Sean Connery ones that are great. You mentioned this, but I just love Sean Connery has had such a unique voice. I mean, it's like James Earl Jones, but in a different way.
Yeah.
But the way he would pronounce certain words.
Buckaroo.
Buckaroo.
That's such a fun word. And then to say it later.
Kakovni but buckaroo.
I like that. But he just was fun.
Yeah.
You could tell that was like, that feels like one of those words where he's like, I like saying buckaroo. I just like this word. Can we do another take? I want to say that one.
Yeah, I just want to say buckaroo again.
I liked this one because this is from the dinner scene where they're all sitting around and they're talking about. I like that because you've got the doctor, Tim Curry's character, Dr. Petrov, is like just yammering.
I don't even know what he was talking about.
I don't either.
He was just talking, and I thought he was saying. So in the setup, I was like, is he saying something he's not supposed to? Which is why they're trying to like. I thought they were going to kill him for a second there. And they're like, oh, just go run this report that'll take you forever. And he's like, all right now, but I was going to eat my food. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the one, like he's an officer, but he's not part of the core of officers that are going to defect.
Yeah.
But they're not going to kill him like they did with Putin.
Yeah.
And so it was like, let's just get him out of here and then he'll go with the crew. But he's just yammering on. He's talking to the engineer and all of this. Then they all sit down. And this is when the one guy says, hey, what happened? He didn't slip on his tea, did he? Like, what's going on here? And I liked this because this, again, gives you insight into Ramius as a person. He likes to quote poetry and quote things. And he says,
When he reached the New World, Cortez burned his ships. As a result, his men were well motivated.
Which, I mean, yeah, it's effective. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the best plan, but.
So that scene sets up the difference between how they view the doctor as an officer versus the, what was it? The political officer.
Yeah, the political officer.
Because when they talk about the political officer, even Sam Neill, like you could tell they have a great deal of disdain for political officers. Whereas like a medical officer serves a purpose. Like that guy's just doing his job, sort of a thing. Whereas the political officer, he's just, they just hate them. I mean, it's like any sort of politician, I would guess, but he's stuck on your boat, so you have to deal with him all the time. So I feel like in that scene, they also set it up where, they don't really seem keen to kill any of their own men if they could help it. Because they even talk about like, how are none of us supposed to like tell the crew, what happens if they find out and all that stuff.
Right.
And they never even really talk about what happens if something goes wrong or if the word gets out. And I don't know if he would just kill the crew or he would just pivot some other way because he doesn't strike me as that's what he would do. But the political officer, that's just a politician. So,
just get rid of him.
Yep.
He's just in the way.
Yeah.
This is a line that I have used way too many times in my life, and also in a sketch I did 20 years ago now, I think.
Okay.
I played. I did a Sean Connery impersonation for. We did a sketch called Hunting with Sean Connery.
Okay.
And I grayed up my hair and my beard. I wore a kilt, and we did this goofy thing. But I used some of the lines from this movie, and this was one of them.
Verify our range to target. 1 ping only.
The single ping.
Yeah.
And then the second time.
Give me a ping, Vasily. 1 ping only, please.
That's the one I use more. The 1 ping only, please. Because you have to pronounce it right. And with the Sean Connery accent, it's please.
Please. 1 ping only, please.
I like the way he said rock and roll.
And lay off their largest city and listen to their rock and roll.
Which is great coming from Sean Connery, but also like the Soviets talking about American rock and roll in the 80s.
Yeah, I feel like every time they depict Russians from the 80s movies, they always have such disdain for rock and roll for some reason. Was that a thing in the 80s? Did they really? I don't know.
I guess. I'm not entirely sure.
Or was that just, movie propaganda where it's like, they hate us because they ain't us sort of thing. They don't have rock and roll over there.
It could be either way.
Yeah.
And then this one, I mentioned it earlier, but his opening speech where he's addressing the whole crew and what they're going to do. And I just...
And once more, we play our dangerous game.
Once more. Like that is a Sean Connery moment right there.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it could have come out of this movie. It could have been out of the not The Usual Suspects, the Untouchables.
Oh, Untouchables.
That could have come from Highlander. Like there's a bunch of stuff that you could hear Sean Connery saying something like that in. And he also had, did I get it from him? Yes.
Most things in here don't react too well to bullets.
Which is the second one that Jack Ryan
makes fun of it.
Ryan, some things in here don't react well to bullets.
I
don't react well to bullets, he says.
Right. I have a friend of mine who will do his own impression of the impression line, but every time he says it, the word bullets gets a little more Sean Connery and a little longer.
Bullets.
And it's hilarious. I also loved
Goddamn cook.
it's such a good reaction.
How did he know that though?
It's uniform.
Okay. Because he just
it's got to be the uniform.
Okay.
Early on, they don't make Jack Ryan unlikable, but this is a moment where he's got to mansplain. And this, you could look at this one of two ways. You can look at this as he is mansplaining to the flight attendant while he's on the plane, or this is his way of dealing with his nerves while flying, because this exchange.
If you did try and get some sleep, the flight will go a lot faster.
I can never sleep on a plane. Turbulence.
Pardon?
Turbulence. Solar radiation heats the Earth's crust. Warm air rises, cool air descends. Turbulence. I don't like that.
I don't like that.
She's flown plenty. She knows what turbulence is, bud. You don't have to explain it to her.
Yeah.
But I look at it more as like he's just nervous on the plane.
I was going to say, that sounds like nervous explanation.
Because if the character was portrayed differently, that could be a douchey response.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Because of the way Jack is, it's just he's just nerved all out. What was I like this just because this is a valid question to ask, and I always wondered it when I was a kid.
Would you launch an ICBM horizontally?
Sure. Why would you want to?
And technically, yes, you could launch an ICBM horizontally, but to Skip's response, it's like, why would you want to? Because it would be like, it's more of a pain to do that way, I guess, from what I've read. That's just not the way they're designed.
Okay.
So
I don't know enough about them. So like when I hear stuff like that in movies or jargon, I guess you will, I just don't know enough about some stuff like that. I just sort of nod my head and go, yep. Yeah. Why would you?
Yeah.
No, because he always goes to starboard in the bottom half of the hour.
I mean, 50-50 chance, right?
Yeah.
Got to go for it. So, no, Jack Ryan is great. Alec Baldwin is great in this. I would kind of like to have seen him do more Jack Ryan films because I think he's really good here.
Yeah.
And it would have been cool to see him kind of evolve that character over time.
Yeah.
It's just a bummer that he,
Well, there would
asked for more
also
money.
be the possibility of, would he play that role whereas there's like a through line between the two movies, or because he got famous from other stuff, would he act it differently?
That's a good question. Yeah. I feel like he's enough of a professional that he would have probably stuck with the character and gone with it. But, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen.
Yeah.
You look at when an actor gets extremely famous, they go from being sort of the character actor to the leading man, and they start playing the same thing over and over. You look at things like Will Smith went through that period where he was just Will Smith and everything.
Yep.
Or Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise and everything.
The Rock is The Rock and everything.
Yeah. Whereas you go back to some of the earlier stuff with The Rock and like watch Walking Tall. There's some scenes in Walking Tall where he does some real good acting.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't The Rock yet in terms of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So
Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart
Yeah.
is always Kevin Hart. Like, yeah.
And then the last one I got to play, because this is probably the line. As much as I quote stuff from this movie a lot, this is the one that I use the most.
Console, not crazy, Ivan.
It's just if I'm out driving somewhere and somebody turns in front of me,
crazy Ivan,
unexpectedly, I just yell that. Or if I'm playing a video game and somebody does something, I'm chasing somebody or whatever, it's con sonar, crazy Ivan. So, but no, this is, I'm really glad you got to see this now, because I feel like movies like this don't happen anymore.
No, because it's not big enough. Like, the stakes are big, and the set pieces, when they're, zoomed out or whatever, are kind of big. But it's slow moving ships through water.
Yeah.
That wouldn't fly today. Or, I mean, it would fly if it was done right. But, like, I don't see a movie studio being like, oh, well, that's not going to sell. It needs to go, the ships need to be going real fast. And, lots of explosions. There would be too much interference. They wouldn't do this movie justice. I actually like sub movies a lot. U-571 is one of my favorite, war movies in general. So I like that premise anyways, because you get the added layer of, now you were in a small can in the ocean. So there is awful everywhere, because at any point it could just smush. And then, as we have found out recently with billionaires with Logitech controllers, that could go bad real fast. And then, And so I always feel like that adds a whole other layer of tension to those movies, because most of the time they'll play it up too. This one didn't really touch on it at all, so it didn't really matter as much. But like U-571 or even in the Navy, what was it, In the Navy? I think the Kelsey Grammer comedy movie.
Oh, Down Periscope.
Down Periscope. Like even in that, like they put the string from one side of the ship to the other, and it's like bowed, so they're just smushing the ship. So like
I love that.
That is another little layer of tension that's always in the back of your head, where you're like, okay, is this going to give out at any moment? And if it does, there's nothing they can do. They're all just instantly dead. You're not going to just swim your way up to the top.
No.
So I like sub movies. And it doesn't matter the era. It could be World War II, could be like this with the Cold War, could be a little bit more modern. I like that premise just from a narrative standpoint, because you can have an action movie where it's not constant, everything's going fast and explosions, but more of a cat and mouse, try to logic your way. Like U-571, for instance. That one, they're in a worse sub. Everything, they're at a disadvantage on everything. And they have to sort of like smart their way out of stuff. And they get into scenario after scenario after scenario with it. They have to sort of, think their way out of things. And so this movie is similar to that. I mean, the last fight, the first one kind of just, they get lucky and it goes off. The torpedo goes off, and then he runs into the next torpedo, and then he sort of loops around and has it run into the other ship. I don't really know enough about torpedoes to know like why it would start, like why it would switch targets, but like it wouldn't hit the little spinny baggy things that, you know, the
the countermeasures.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I'm not
countermeasures. So I
entirely
don't know how that
sure.
works.
Yeah, I'm not really either, but I'm with you. I like a good sub movie. Crimson Tide is a great one. Crimson Tide is a movie similar to this, where so much of the action just takes place in the sub.
Yeah.
And it's that because this is more of, again, like I said, it's a political thriller as opposed to necessarily an action movie. But like U-571, K-19, The Widowmaker is another one that's really good. But the other thing that sets this movie apart, I think, for me, is number one, it's not action-packed, but it's tense throughout. So you're constantly paying attention. It's paced really well. And again, at 2 hours and 15 minutes, that could feel long, but it doesn't because it keeps moving and it gives you characters. It really sets up your characters to care about them and what's happening to them.
Yeah.
And our two mains, Jack Ryan and Marco Ramius, don't even meet until an hour and 50 minutes into the movie before they finally actually share a scene together.
Yeah.
So we spend time learning about them, but yet like Jack Ryan knows Ramius and he respects him. And so that feeds into it. Also, this movie's rated PG.
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, because it shows up as you can watch it on YouTube, but I was leery about watching it that way because they'll sort of like they'll take out profanity or like certain scenes with blood for some reason, even if it is rated R. So I was like, okay. So I watched it on, I think it was Pluto TV, where you just had to deal with so many commercials. But and it was staticky for some reason.
Oh,
like it looked like I was watching a VHS tape, but it was only that movie. Like if I switched to a different movie, it was totally fine. So I don't know what the deal was with that. But yeah, so I was curious if the PG was actually PG or if it was, you know, one of these streaming services screwing with me. But yeah, there's not really anything in the movie there's like a little tiny bit of blood. There's very little violence. There's hardly any profanity or anything really. So
yeah, I think the only movie McTiernan ever made was PG. Everything he did was either R or PG-13, but mostly R-rated stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just, I feel like if this were being made today, in today's film climate, something about this would get lost in the translation. I feel like they would try to put too much emphasis on maybe action or add more to the final sequence where Loganoff and Ryan are in the missile silo area. I don't know. There's something about the movie. I feel like just it's a product of its time, and I think the director at that time is able to make a dynamic looking thing that keeps your attention while it's basically just a bunch of people talking in a boat.
Yeah. Well, so I was actually thinking about this today with a different movie because I feel like some movies just wouldn't work anymore because like technology just makes it so that it, like today's technology just makes certain things not work in a movie. Like for instance, what's the movie where the Russians invade? It had Patrick Swayze.
Oh, Red Dawn.
Red Dawn. Like I feel like that movie doesn't work today because like you have satellites
when they did the remake.
Yeah, exactly. And with this, it would be similar because I feel like, I don't know, it running silently, they would just be like, okay, well, we've got 18 other ways to figure that out. So, you know, there's from that standpoint, but from a filmmaking standpoint, you just don't see movies get made like this much anymore, unless it's like an indie movie or something like that. No big budget, you know, Hollywood movies is making stuff this way because unless it's a director who has made so many hits that they basically have sort of earned their way to do whatever the hell they feel like doing.
Yeah. I do think though, even then, like there's going to be something scaled differently in today's movies that this one kept it small and kept it very simple. Like it's just guys defecting and there's some crazy kind of things going on, but we don't need to know all of the minutia to those things. We can just sort of see them play out. I think that's the other part is like any exposition dumps that happened were about characters and not about plot.
Yeah.
And that's where an exposition dump can work. If somebody's going to just say talk a bunch of information and dump it on us as an audience. When they're doing that about a character, I can buy that a lot more than when they do that about like the plot or something story related.
Well, that then also depends on who would be the director and who would be the writer. Because if you left it up to the generic, writers and directors you get these days, they would just info dump you on everything. Like characters, plot, doesn't matter. Every 2 seconds, it would be an action set piece, and then there would be a whole bunch of exposition that's just told to the audience as opposed to you experiencing it. I feel like that's how it would end up going these days. Because, like I said, movies just aren't quite made the way they were in the 90s or the 80s, for that matter. Like, just don't.
No,
they just don't structure them the same way.
They don't, and they don't shoot them the same way. So McTiernan had a very unique style for shooting. And he also, this was the second movie I think he worked with Jan de Bont as his director of photography. So the lighting for it is really well done, because there's a subtle difference between the Red October, the Dallas, and the Tupolev, or Tupolov's boat, the Alpha class.
Yeah.
Where the lighting is different in each one, but it's not, it never felt overly dramatically different, but it was different enough that you could tell which boat was which.
Yeah.
You could tell where you were. And I think that is a testament to Jan de Bont as a cinematographer. Also, I just like the more dynamic cinematic lighting we used to use that is somewhat going away. I did see there's a great YouTube video of somebody talking about lighting for film and how it's changed over the years and how everything's getting flatter.
It's getting to be more like TV lighting.
Yeah, there's a lot more of that, and a lot of it is because of like everybody watching stuff at home and watching streaming services. And I miss this kind of dynamic cinematic lighting, or the stuff that Peter Hyams would do with things like Time Cop and The Relic and Running Scared, where he likes his dark blacks and gives that contrast to stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Jan de Bont was really good at that too.
Yeah. Well, you bringing up the streaming thing, I had heard it. I was watching one of the other YouTube channels that I watch. They were reviewing, I think, the new Frankenstein movie. And they were talking about how studios have a new strategy. I can't remember the term for it. But basically, most of information is through exposition, because they assume you're not actually going to be watching the movie, because you're going to be on your phone messing around. So they're now making movies to service that, where they're just assuming you're not going to pay attention to the movie. So it's just said to you as opposed to experiencing it like you would in a movie.
There is a bit of that, which is one thing I loved about Frankenstein. Del Toro is an old school film guy. And so he made a movie that benefits you paying attention to it. And as an audience member, that's what I want in a movie. I want a movie that's going to respect me as an audience and not have to spoon feed me everything. But I get where studios are looking to do that more because so many more people are watching at home and they have their second screen up.
Yeah.
And I'm just old school and I can't do that.
I can't focus on anything more than one thing at a time. So if a movie's on, especially one I've never seen before, there is nothing else that's going on. Like that's it. And certain media, even if I have seen it multiple times, I can't do two things at once. Like TNG, I really want to put that on the background. I can't, because if I do, whatever I'm working on, I just slowly start to turn towards the other screen. And then this doesn't exist anymore because I love TNG and the episodes always engage me. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's just a sort of, because I'm in the wrong generation, I guess. Like the younger generations, maybe because they came up a different way. Like I didn't have, I got my cell phone when I was like, I think when I was like 16 years old. And then it was like the Nextel punch pad stuff. There was no, smart screens or any of that stuff till I was in my 20s. So by then I've already, my brain's already formed all the way up. So maybe that's also part of it. I don't know, but
I'm sure that plays into it, because there's definitely something to be said for, like, I'm from a generation where I went to the theater to watch movies, or I rented a tape and I watched stuff, and my dad, was the kind of guy that he would put on an album and he would sit in the dark and listen to Pink Floyd or, Creedence or whatever album he was going to listen to. I can distinctly remember so many times as a kid, like he would just be in the basement, all the lights would be off. He'd be sitting in a recliner just listening to his music and focusing on that, or watching a movie and all the lights went out.
Yep.
And you just watch that. So it is there is a generational thing to it, but I think also I'm with you where there are some things I can put on as background, like sitcoms.
Yes.
Can be a background
Sitcoms
thing.
are definitely background.
Because I don't have to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And I can just look over every once in a while, kind of chuckle, and then go back to what I'm doing. But you're right. If I put on, I can't have TNG as a background show. I can't have X-Files as a background show because that's what I'm watching now. I'm focused on that.
So when I go to sleep, I will put something on. But I have to be very careful about what I put on, because if it's actually something that I care about or am interested in, I won't fall asleep because my brain will just like fix to it. And then it's like, okay, now we're listening to every word of this. And it's like, no. It's got to be on some nonsense or rain noise, or even Bob Ross. Love falling asleep to Bob Ross. Because like, while everything he says is, great and all, his voice is just so melodic that it just helps you just drift right off to dreamland.
Yeah. For me, the thing that's helped when I go to sleep now is instead of having a screen in the room, I actually don't have a television or anything in my bedroom, and I have a radio, and I have old radio shows.
Okay.
I have The Haunted Hour or The Shadow or old talk radio episodes of like Coast to Coast AM, which is, talking about conspiracies and aliens and ghosts and all that. And it's just like background stuff that I can kind of pay attention to. But, all of the Shadow is basically a lot of the same plot over and over.
Sure.
So it's kind of nice because it can just sort of fade into the background. You just hear, you hear a few names and you hear a bunch of talking and or like, stuff with Jack Webb, Rod Serling, like all these old radio programs are great sort of background noise to fall asleep to.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I like. But no, this was fun. I'm glad you finally saw this movie.
Yeah, me too.
And I was talking to...
I forgot all about it.
I was talking to Phil Keating as well, and he hadn't seen it. So hopefully he got a chance to watch it.
No. He didn't watch it with me.
No, he didn't watch it with you.
Oh, okay.
But maybe he watched it on his own. I don't know.
Probably not. It's like pulling teeth to get him to watch anything. And he hasn't seen like anything anyways, unless it's... what's that director who did the Budapest Hotel?
Oh, Wes Anderson.
Yeah, unless it's a Wes Anderson movie, he hasn't seen it.
Well,
9 times out of 10.
Funny thing is, in a few weeks, he's going to be watching another Wes Anderson movie with me.
He told me.
Now, next episode, I actually have another Botched podcast member, Tristan, is going to come on.
What's he watching?
Tristan's never seen Gremlins. And since we're into December now, it's the Christmas season, and I love my alternative Christmas movies. We're going to watch, and I'm going to get him to watch Gremlins for the first time. So I'm excited for that. It really is. It's a lot of fun. So that's going to be cool. Joe Dante's 1984 Gremlins. Tristan's going to be back for that. Now, because I've mentioned Phil, I've mentioned Tristan. Tristan is the last of the 4 Botched members, by the way, to be on my show.
I was going to say, I know Steve has been on, yeah.
Phil a bunch of times. I've had you on a bunch of times, and now Tristan. So remind people what Botched is and where they can find that.
So Botched is it's the best way to sum up Botched. It's an improv comedy show draped in the loose skin of Dungeons and Dragons with a little bit of drinking involved. We do not take ourselves seriously at all. The rules are very loosey-goosey, we'll say. Right now we're in the midst of our 10th season, which in April, we will have been doing this for 10 years, which is insanity. And we've gone back to sort of a standard fantasy, but with lots of callbacks to other things, and smoking grass. Sure. I'm sure Tristan and Phil do that a lot too. And actually on Tuesday this week, we will be having you on that show. On that episode, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. But you can check that out on all your podcatchers. Botched, a D&D podcast. You can check out the website, botchedpodcast.com. I won't read off the many, many websites that people have bought us because they just get weirder and crazier. And oftentimes when people have either sat in on the show with us, like Hammond Chamberlain, he sat in for the first time and he was like, what are all those websites? And we're like, it's all the same thing. They all go to the same place, but people keep buying them. So we got to read
those
them
are
off.
great. No, that show is fun. It's amazing you guys have been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hat tip and a congratulations on that to keep doing it. And it's always fun. I have a blast every time I come on. Sitting in for the live shows at Dragon Con is always a hoot. You guys are great.
Yeah, those are always a highlight because they're both nerve-wracking and a ton of fun. Like this year, I finally did the one thing I've been saying I've been wanting to do for almost 9 years. And it actually went pretty well. So I was happy with how that turned out.
No, it's a lot of fun. So definitely check that out. Botched, a D&D podcast. Occasionally you can even hear my voice on there.
That's
doing
right.
some sort of silly stuff. But Dennis, thank you so much for coming on again. It's always a pleasure having you on. We're going to be doing it again probably in a few months.
Yes, because I'm going to have so this was supposed to happen at the last day of the Kickstarter because I write comic books about the world's first werewolf.
Yes.
But due to some, let's just call it interesting events, I have to push the Kickstarter to March. So we'll probably do another episode in March, which I'm fine with because I love coming on this show. It's always a great time coming on the show and being able to watch something I've never seen before and, just to get to hang out and chit chat with you too. So, thanks for having me. It's a blast as always. I always appreciate it.
Thank you. And if you like this show, I do it every week because I have a problem. And I stream it live, typically Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time at twitch.tv/TVsTravis. You can find the show as a podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, including YouTube, on Wednesdays. Patrons get the show a few days early. So if you're a patron, you get it early. You get exclusive First Watch Diaries, where I've got a new series I got to start because I finished off Wednesday. I've just been busy. But I'm going to be starting a new series for those. Those are patrons only in patreon.com/WYHS. And you can help me to go back to places like Dragon Con and do the show live there, or Nerdtacular that I'm going to next year as well. So definitely check that out. But next week is Gremlins with Tristan. I can't wait. It's been a little bit since I saw Gremlins. I think it's been a couple of years. So I'm looking forward to going back to it, but also to show someone that for the first time. Because, it's Gremlins.
Oh, yeah.
It's
iconic.
So it really is. That's going to be a lot of fun. But until then, until next week, until Gremlins, just remember to enjoy your movies. And look, we're getting into the Christmas season. There might be some Gremlins out there, but let's be excellent to each other anyway.
Hey, I think somebody just shot a torpedo at us.
Oh, shit, fuck.
I completely forgot that guy was in TNG.